Okay, in this video, we are going to talk about how to write the equations of lines in different forms. So first here, we're going to look at point slope form. In point slope form, you have y minus y sub 1 equals m parentheses x minus x sub 1. And in this form, m is our slope or our gradient, which is another word for slope and the one that we will use primarily in our class. X sub 1 is going to be the x value of a point that lies on the line. Any point on the line works. And then y sub 1 is going to be the y value of the same point on the line. So this y and this x will be from a coordinate, okay? Now, this is a very important form because this is going to be the form in our class that we always start with anytime we're writing the equation of a line. And if we're not told what form to put it in, we will stop here. If we're just told to write an equation of a line, we're done here. But sometimes we're asked to write things in slope-intercept form. And for slope-intercept form, basically you just need to solve the equation for y. So once you have this, we can go to this form by getting y by itself. And in this form, m is the slope or the gradient, and b is the y-intercept. So that's going to be where the line crosses the y-axis, the y-intercept. Another form that you've probably seen in previous math classes is standard form. And in standard form, we have ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c must be integers. So a, b, and c must be integers, which means they cannot be fractions or decimals. Okay, so we have to have integers. And we need a, so this is important, a must be positive. So the coefficient of x, which is a, must be positive. Okay, now there is one more form that stems from this that we're going to use a lot in our class. So if we actually subtracted this c right here and moved it over here, we would get this form, ax plus by minus c or plus c. Okay, in this case, we would have minus c, but the way we show it is ax plus by plus c, because remember, these are only placeholders. B might be negative, and then we would have a minus sign here, okay? But ax plus by plus c equals 0, where all of my terms are on this side, and the equation is set equal to 0. This is the form we will be using in our class instead of standard form. So you might be asked to write something in the form ax plus by plus c. Okay, but both of these two things still apply. So this is still true. A, b, and c cannot be fractions, and a must be positive. So those still apply. Okay, so we're going to look at some examples. In this example, we're asked to write the equation of the line that passes through the point 2, -3, and has a gradient or slope of -4. What that's telling me right now is that m is -4, because that's what slope or gradient means. We use m to represent that. And I have the point 2, -3. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are always going to start with our point slope form. So that's going to be y minus the y value in my point, which is -3, equals -4 times x minus the x value, which is 2. This is it. This is point slope form, but we do want to clean this up. This minus a negative changes to plus. So we do want to simplify that a little bit. But other than that, in general, for my class, if you are not told what form to write a line in, you are going to stop there. You're done, okay? However, for the purpose of this video, because you need to know it, we are going to look at how to change that into the other forms. So if I want to write this in slope-intercept form, which remember was y equals mx plus b, then I just want to solve for y. So what that looks like is this. I have this form to start with from above, and I'm going to just start simplifying it. So I'm going to distribute this -4 to this x and this -2. So that's going to give me -4x, and then -4 times -2 is +8. And finally, to get y by itself, I just want to move this 3. So I'm going to subtract the 3 from both sides. And I will get y equals -4x plus 5. 8 minus 3 is a +5. So that would be slope-intercept form if we were asked for it. Otherwise, I would stop here. Now, you also have standard form, but in our case, we're going to do ax plus by plus c. We're going to look at this form. If you wanted standard form, the only difference is you would move the c to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to start from this where we have down here in slope-intercept form. So y equals negative 4x plus 5. What you see here is basically we need this negative 4x and this 5 to be on the same side as y. We need them all to be on the same side, but what we remember is we want a to be positive. So since x is negative, the coefficient in front of x is negative 4, I'm just going to move it to the other side, because by moving it to the other side, it makes it positive. So far I have 4x plus y equals 5. Guys, that's standard form. You'd be done if you asked for standard form, but if you were asked for this form where everything's on the same side, I'm also going to move my 5. I'm going to subtract it. So I get 4x plus y minus 5 equals 0. And that is in the form ax plus by plus c. Again, this is minus because we had a negative 5, and that's okay. All right, let's look at another example. Write the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. So now here's the different example. We weren't given a slope. We were just given 2 points. So there is a way to find slope. The formula for slope, which you need to know, you need to have it memorized, is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we would call this, if this is our first point, we would call this x1, and this would be y1. This would be x2, and this would be y2. So you do need to know that. So let's find slope based on those 2 points. We would have negative 7 minus negative 5 divided by 2 minus negative 1. And when we simplify that, we get negative 2 over 3. So this is the slope that we're going to use. And now for point slope form, and we can use this slope with either of these 2 points. I will always just pick the first one that shows up. But you can choose to write it with this one, and they would be equivalent, although they would look a little bit different. So remember, we're going to have y minus our y value, which in this case, if I'm using the first point, is negative 5, equals our slope, which is negative 2/3, parentheses x minus my x value. Now, if I did choose to use this negative 5 from this point, I have to use this negative 1. So this is our point slope form, but we aren't going to leave it as minus a negative. We are going to simplify this to y plus 5 equals negative 2/3 parentheses x plus 1. This is our point slope form. Okay, again, in class in general, if you get a question that looks like this and you write it in point slope form, you are done. For the sake of the video, because you do need to know all forms, I'm going to go ahead and go on. So we're going to write it now in the form y equals mx plus b, which is our slope-intercept form. We are going to start here with what we had from point slope form, because that's going to be the form we always start with. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute this negative 2/3. So I'm going to leave the y plus 5 equals negative 2/3 x minus, when I multiply this by 1, I get negative 2/3. And then I'm going to move my 5. So it's positive, I'm going to subtract it. And I'm going to get y equals negative 2/3 x. Now this is a negative 2/3 minus 5. We are going to get negative 17/3. Okay? So this is slope-intercept form. Now, if we want to take this form and we want to write it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0, well, we do need to move some things, so you can choose to do that first. Let me start here. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 17/3. I'm going to move everything over. Now, this is negative, so I'm essentially moving both of these things to the other side. So what I'm really doing is changing their signs. When I move this negative 2/3 x to the other side, it's going to become positive 2/3 x because I'm adding it. Okay? And then this y is already on this side, so I'm going to leave it as plus y. And then this is negative 17/3, and if I want to move it over here, it would become a positive 17/3. Now, I didn't show those steps that I showed on the last one, so if you need to go back and look at this and actually add the 2/3 x and add the 17/3, you can do that. My problem here, though, is that remember, in addition to the coefficient of x, which is a being positive, I need for all of these terms to be integers. They cannot have fractions. So in order to clear my fractions, I'm going to look at the denominators in both cases, and I'm going to multiply by the smallest number I can that both denominators go into. And since they're both 3 in this case, I can just multiply by 3. When I multiply 3 by 2/3 x, I get 2x. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 17 over 3 is 17. And 3 times 0 is still 0. So this is my ax plus by plus c form. If you wanted standard form where c is on the other side, you would just move this 17 over here and then it would be a negative 17. But for our class, this is what we want. Okay, we have one more example. Write the equation of the line with gradient -1/3. So what that's telling me is that m is -1/3 and that passes through this point. And in this case, we are specifically asked for this form, okay? Now we can't go straight to that form, so we're still gonna start with point slope form. We're gonna do y minus our y value, which is 8, equals our slope, which is -1/3, times x minus our x value, which is 2. Okay, that's point slope form. If it hadn't asked me for this, I would be done, but now we're gonna go ahead and simplify this a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and distribute the -1/3, and that's gonna give me -1/3 x plus 2/3. Now, my goal is not to get slope-intercept form where I'm gonna get y by itself, but it's often easier to just go ahead and do that, to combine like terms. So we're gonna add our 8 here, and we're gonna add our 8, and we're gonna get y equals -1/3 x. And when I do 2/3 plus 8 in this instance, I'm gonna get 26 over 3, okay? All right, so now I have slope-intercept form, but I want it in ax plus by plus c form, so I can go ahead and clear my fractions here, or I can go ahead and move things around. It's up to you. Let's move this. If I move this over here so that the x value is positive, I'm gonna get 1/3 x plus y equals 26 over 3. And we want this over here as well. So we're gonna move our 26 over 3. And I'm gonna get 1/3 x plus y minus 26 over 3 equals 0. So I'm good now. Everything's on one side all together, and a is positive. The problem is we have to remember that this form cannot have fractions. In this case, they happen to both be 3's on the bottom again, so I'm gonna multiply by 3. And that's gonna give me 1x, or just x, plus 3y minus 26 equals 0. And that is the form ax plus by plus c. Okay, well, I hope that video helped. And there will be other videos on lines, horizontal and vertical lines, and parallel and perpendicular lines that you should check out as well. See you in the next video.